We're going to start the main session now, so I hope that you have some pens or markers and a lot of paper, because we're going to do some drawings. So are we ready to start? Yeah. I will just say hello and welcome once again. So we're from Visual Agilist Denmark, and we are running a series of meetups related to visualization, facilitation, and visual facilitation. The topic today is Visual Facilitation for Beginners, online edition, obviously. And the four of us here are your hosts today. And we have myself, my name is Stine, and I work as a Scrum Master in a Danish software company, SimCorp, where I have worked with distributed teams and doing lots of online meetings over the years. And yeah, I like to use visual facilitation in my meetings.
So I'll go next. Hi everyone, my name is Paweł. I work as a Scrum Master at SimCorp as well. So a lot of things would be the same for me as for Stine. So that's for me. Hi.
Yes, and hi everyone. I am Renato, also a Scrum Master in SimCorp. I'm going to show you some basic things, and I'm from Brazil. Not a coincidence, I'm with a football here in my drawing. Yeah.
And I'm Christian. I'm also a Scrum Master working at SimCorp, and like the other ones, I do a lot of facilitation online meetings with my teams.
The agenda for today is we're going to say a short hi again, and a little check-in exercise. We're going to talk about the goal, and then we're going to do the workshop part. We're going to practice a lot. You're going to do a lot of drawings yourself and show them to each other. And then we'll end with some hints and tips and tricks how to get started. We're also going to show you some tips in PowerPoint. And last not least, as mentioned by that we are going to have some feedback session from you. So the goal of today is how to prepare and use some visual materials, and also how to use it in an online setup. And over to you, Paweł.
Well, we wanted to open with a short exercise just to practice our drawing skills. I'll share a link with you in a second, and if you click on the link, I'll show you now what you're gonna see. So the link will open Padlet. I don't know if you know the tool, but when you go to this board, you can either double click anywhere or just click on this plus button here, and this will open a new card. And you click on those three dots and you select draw. And the exercise we want to do with you is draw your mood. So basically what you're doing is you're drawing your current mood, whatever it is, and you're clicking on the save button, and in a few moments it's going to appear like this on the screen. So remember, either click on the plus or double click, select three dots, draw, and that's it. And I'm sharing the link in the chat window right now. So just click on it and go to the Padlet. And let us know if you have any technical difficulties. You shouldn't have to sign up for Padlet or anything like this. While you're there, I'm just gonna share the screen for those of you who do not want to participate. by default, drawings might overlap with each other. So I'm just gonna scatter them.
Whoa, nice drawings here.
So just looking at some of them, remember this is a session for beginners. Some of you can draw better than I do. So it's funny that I'm gonna be the facilitator, not you.
Seems like we have people tired after a long day, thinking about drinks and dinner, gin tonic, beer, wine. Do we have a theme here? Yeah. Are you still sharing it, Pavel, the remaining ones? Or
Yes, I've stopped sharing. So if you want, you can move on, and the drawings
we
will
will move
appear on
on.
the board anyway.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about why visual facilitation, and hope you see it right here. Yeah. So drawing is something that has been here, that has been used as communication for a long time, back from the ancient cave paintings to the hieroglyphs, and today where you text basically without any letters, but just using emojis. The reason why it's very powerful is that pictures are more appealing it, to the, and it speaks more directly to our senses and emotions than words alone. It also increases the memory when words are associated with pictures, as it activates more areas in our brain and therefore makes it easier to understand complex things. The sight is our primary sense, and you also say a picture says more than 1,000 words. It's a very powerful tool for the facilitator. See here, and it's because it really engages and activates and involves the participants in your session. It's also a very flexible communication tool, and it makes it more personal and just adds an extra dimension to the communication and gives a life. And you also say that non-verbal communication is a very important part of communication too. Then it's easy and fast to remember, and it's a common language that goes across cultures and languages. Just see, for example, in all the airports, the pictograms that are the same all over the world. Yeah, that was a little bit of an introduction. So let's go to the workshop part.
Yeah, so the first thing we want you to practice is a little bit of writing. So I hope you have something to write prepared. It can be anything. It can be pen or a marker, anything, and some paper. And we'll start with a short timed exercise. So I'm gonna say to you one sentence, and it's gonna be quite long, and I'll ask you to write it in 15 seconds. So it's you'll have to write it quite quick. Don't worry if you won't be able to finish it, but it's just to build some pressure on the writing. So the sentence is something that you probably know. Get ready, get set. It's a quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, and you have 15 seconds to write it now. Five seconds left. All right, and we're done. That was really quick, and I bet quite challenging. So can you just show your writing to everyone, if you manage to write something? All right, yeah. So something I wanted to share with you as basic hints for writing is that whenever you're in facilitation situation, you need to write something quick. And thing to remember is that you should avoid writing in a joined up manner. So if you have letters that are linked together, like they usually teach you to write at school, try to avoid that, because if you're writing in front of people that you're facilitating for, it's going to be less readable for them. So try to write slowly and don't join the letters, scatter them. And if it makes sense to practice your handwriting, so if your letter K is something like this, or you're writing K like this, it's a good idea to just practice writing it in a bit more readable way. If your R or B or D is something like this, try to write them in a simpler manner, like avoid those fancy additions over here. Just write very simple, straightforward letters. It's the same if you're writing letters like J or Y this way. Just do them in a bit simpler way. And what I would ask you to do now is just write some text, anything, because we're going to practice some frames. Write anything. Anything would work. And one hint to learn to make your drawings or whatever you're doing a bit better is to add frames to anything. So if you have something like a header, draw a square around it, and you can do this following me. Draw two squares like this over here, link them this way, and you have a header that is a bit better looking than plain text. If you want, you can also do some more stuff like this, for example. It's a variant of the one that I just used previously. And you also have a frame for the header. If you have different colors of markers, you can also add some shadow over here to make it look even a bit more fancy. It's also good to know that there's this technique called mess up management. So if you're writing something as your header and you all of a sudden notice that there's some free space on the side, it's not centered correctly, don't throw it out. Just do something like this maybe, and just say that it was your plan from the very beginning, because you're using some space here. And there are three types of frames that you can use. Like this is the simple header frame, but if you have some other text, you can also just frame it like this, and you could have a simple frame for the text that you're putting in the middle of a flip chart. And one hint I wanted to share with you is remember that you should always be writing text first. Text always goes first, and then you're adding the frame around it rather than vice versa. So you can also do something like imagine you have something on this piece of paper. Maybe I'll just reuse this one. It also makes sense to add the frame around the whole drawing. So just do something like this. And it's enough to frame your flip chart or your drawing. And if you, again, if you have some color, you can add the shade here. It's a good idea to do things like this, just to make some things on the flip chart or on a piece of paper stand out. So we'll discuss sample usages of this technique in a few minutes. But keep that in mind, always text first, then the frame. You can use something as a frame at the top, frame of the text in the middle of a flip chart, and frame the whole piece of paper that you're drawing on. So that's how you can work with a text and frames.
Yes, and the next things we will look at, that is icons. I'll just be sharing my screen. And what I'm going to be using here is another technique of showing it on. It's a drawing tablet from Wacom. So what we're going to look here at is icons. So I will ask you just to actually take and draw along with me. So the first icon we're going to do is called Usmo. So if you start here and you start by drawing a U, sorry, I'll just take a black color, then it's easier to see. You start by drawing a U, then you add a Z, you add an M, and then you add an O. And you have created yourself a light ball, which can be used in a lot of contexts when you're doing facilitation. Icons is a really good way to be using things in facilitation. If we just next to it here, for example, say that we draw, as Paul was showing before, a piece of paper. Then the first trick or hint we will give when it comes to talking about icons is that adding a shadow to it means a lot. It just gives more light to your drawing, so you can use anything. If you have a gray marker, as Pavel was using before, it is perfect, else just use a highlighter. When you talk about adding shades to it, think about you have a light source, like drawing the sun up here. If the object is a 3D object, like the light ball here, then you added the shadow and the shade inside of the object. If it's a two-dimensional, more flat object, just like the piece of paper over here, then you will add it on the outside. Just like this, very fastly. So please just draw along so you get the feeling of it. The next thing we will, oh, that was a little bit too long down, just need to move it so I can see what I'm doing over here. The next thing, a good thing to do is when you draw, always start with the largest object. So just continue drawing along. So if you start by drawing a circle here, that's the large object. Then you can add the fuse and you have created a bomb. Again, in order to give your icons or your drawing more life, add some shadow to it. This is a three-dimensional object, a bomb, then you will do this inside of it. If we take another example here, then you can say, again, start with the largest object. You can do like this, and you have created a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, or you have created an icon for a break. Again, just to give this little extra thing, try to add some shadow to it. So if you doubt and if you think your icon, it is not really perfect, don't be too hard on yourself. A simple trick you can do is actually just underneath write what it is you want to symbolize. So in this case, I draw a bomb, but what I wanted to do actually is to symbolize that we are having a risk here. When you do facilitation, as Dina said, icons just give something extra. It makes it more appealing. It makes it easier for the brain to remember. So now we will do a little exercise for you to train. So I will remove this one here and I will turn on this one here. So I'll just zoom out and then take 1 minute and practice drawing some of these symbols here. Remember to try to add some shadow to it. If it's 3-dimensional, add it inside. If it's 2-dimensional, you will add it on the side like you see with this piece of paper here. So let's take 1 minute and you can try to draw as many as you can in 1 minute. When we talk also about using icons, it should just be fast. It doesn't need to be fancy. A simple drawn icon can be just enough to make it easier for you when you do facilitation, both online and also when you're doing it in real life. If you're drawn all of these, I'll just, here's some more you can practice drawing. So I will stop sharing now, and then I will actually ask you guys if you can hold up your drawings to share with the rest of the group. Just show how your different icons look. Wow, it looks really good, guys. You are really, really skilled in drawing.
And mention if you go to gallery mode, then you can see more of the participants.
Thank you. That's true. Go to gallery mode, then you can see a lot of people's drawing out here. And as I said, this is just a simple way to add something extra to your facilitation. So I will send the ball further to Renato.
Yes. So as Scrum Masters, when we prepare some session, in many cases, we also need to draw people. And what I'm going to show here is the basic things, how to draw people. Two techniques, base techniques, and one more advanced. So the first one, if you have it's really easy. If you have a paper, you can just draw a U like that. I hope you can see it well here in the flip chart. And then if you draw a wall underneath, and then if you just switch it, turn around, then you have a person like that, simple like that, U and O. So, and it's quite useful if you, for example, want to represent in some facilitation session that we have some pairing. You want a dialogue, then you can just draw two people like that. In some case, you want to draw a group. So it's the same idea of an inverted U. So I have, for example, 3 persons here, and then 3 heads. Then we have a group. So that will be the simplest way to draw people. And there is another one which is also basic, which is the star technique. You have the head, and then all the body and arms and legs will look like a star, just like that. Then I have a person. If you want to draw a group, then three persons here, and then the star will be a bit different. You have the arms of the 2 persons on the borders, but then the legs will be all together, just like that. Then I have a group. Yes, so those are the 2 techniques which are very basic, and there is the advanced one. Sometimes you want to put some emotion or some movements in your drawing when you draw people. So there is this technique that if you imagine 7 dots like that, and then or you can also imagine 7 lines, and then we're going to use how to draw a person here. You imagine the first space will be for the head, and then you use the 2 next lines for the body, something like that. And then the 3 on the bottom will be for the legs and for the ground. So we can use, for example, 2.5 for each leg. And then we can have the ground here. Then what is missing? The arms. And then the arms we can try to put some emotion or some movement. So in that case, it's someone that's questioning something, is in doubt of something. And also the shadow. So as in that case, the shadow is a 3D object. So we draw the shadow inside, just like that. Yeah, so, and you can use different techniques for the bodies, because sometimes you can also make the body look like a dress, something like that, which will give you a more feminine look to your drawing. The arms, yeah, and the shadow. Another tip about that is the head. I mean, if you're drawing someone adult, then the head will be like a egg shape, and if you're drawing a kid or a child, then your head will be more rounded, like that. Something like that. And the shadow. Yes, so yeah, 2 space for body, 1 for head, and 2 or 2.5 or 3 for legs. And then, yeah, you can practice examples like that. And I have more here that you can also practice. So if you want to give some movement, then you can lean a little bit the body like that. And the legs and arms are follow it, in that case running, yeah. So there are some examples here, please practice, draw one, try to draw yourselves, and let's see how that looks. And another trick is that sometimes you want to get inspired, and what is really useful is to just Google some image, and then you can have something like that, a person, and then you want to make a drawing of that person. So I'll just move it and then exercise and try to draw it together. So here you have someone kind of holding something or carrying something. So in that case, the person is a little bit on the sides, so the body is not that large. You draw a body a little bit more thinner. The head is also leaning, and then the legs, something like that, and the arms, something like that. So it is very useful sometimes to just get inspired by some image that you can find internet, and then if you want, you can just add some, some box. on top of it. Yes, so let me see the drawings that we have made. Let's share, if you can just. Yeah, pretty cool. Nice. So yeah, that was all from me.
Yeah, we're just gonna share a few tricks and hints. First of all, would like to say, well, just do it, try it out. There's many simple ways to get started in an easy way. Remember, it's a tool that supports your communication. It's not an art in itself, which also means you will just have to let your inner perfectionist go. Keep it very simple, and find some nice easy drawings that you like yourself and that are easy for you to create. And yeah, look for inspiration, Google or wherever, and steal with pride and use those images as inspiration. It's a good idea to combine words and pictures. Creates a stronger message. And as mentioned, start with the largest objects first. You can consider to use some templates, but also be aware that it kind of limits the thinking, and it's a more passive way of facilitation. But depending on the purpose of the meeting, you can use some templates to make it a bit easier for yourself. And Christian is going to show another way you can.
Yes, you can say in these days, a lot of things is done online. So you would like to get sometimes you would like to get your drawings into PowerPoint, for example. I'll just show an example of how you can use drawings together with PowerPoint. This is from a lightning talk I gave at a place once. And here, the idea is that you have taken hand drawings and you create a large image. And then while you're talking, you will have the image behind you zooming out on the things you would like to talk about. So this is one way you can use it. Another way you can use it is as a Scrum Master in a sprint review. Often, this is taken from one of my previous teams, often when you have a review, you like to have some posters on the wall if we're meeting physical, but in these days we're not doing it. So you can create the same feeling by having a drawing which is going from post-it to post-it. So here it's like representing a goal post-it. Again, it's having elements of hand drawing put in together with elements from a PowerPoint presentation, so you could have link, etc. going on. So how do you get things into PowerPoint easily? So one technique you can do is here, I just opened a PowerPoint and I'm just putting in simply a new slide. That is that you take a photo of your hand drawing. So right now I've taken a photo here of a bomb I have been drawing. So the first thing you can do is just to crop the image simply using PowerPoint's built-in tools. So I will just simply crop it into something a little bit smaller. Then you can click on the image and you can go to picture format and you can go to remove background. I'll just zoom in a little bit here. You can mark the areas which you will actually like to keep. So I will just very briefly here mark the areas I need to keep. I also need the tip of the fuse like this. I don't want to have the inside, so I'll just mark that. And you say keep changes. And now you have taken your hand drawing and you actually have it in PowerPoint and you can just use it as any other PowerPoint drawing object, move it around. If you like to have this floating transition, what I normally would do is I will build an image just using any tools. You can actually use Paint 3D, which is on your computer. I will just say, sorry, that's not a photo. I just need to, sorry, I just need a new slide, sorry. My mouse is killing me. Okay, so I'll just insert a new picture here. I'll just take a picture here. And then you can say, if you want this floating motion, what I will do is take the basic picture here, copy the slide, and say, what part of this picture would I actually like to focus on? I zoom out a little bit. I just stretch the picture now and say, I want to focus on the person moving the rock. And after that, I will actually like to go back out into the main view. So I just copy pasted the image again. Then I go up here to transition and I put this MERV transition on the slides. So if we go and see how the effect is looking, you will start with the picture which is your main picture, the overview you like to give people. And when you push forward, it will automatically glide and zoom into a certain point in your drawing, which is the one you want to focus on now. And again, you can go back out and give the audience the overview of what is going on. This is a way you can make your PowerPoint much more alive and actually use a lot of these hand drawing things as we have been showing here today. So this was about PowerPoint. And I guess that Pavel will take the next part.
Yeah, you need to exactly stop sharing.
Stop sharing, yes.
So maybe one thing to note is that we showed you 3 types of approaches that you can have in an online setup. You can draw using a top-down camera like I did, and I'm using a very simple setup. I don't have a fancy equipment to do that, just an external camera. You can draw using a tablet if you have one, or you can draw on a flip chart like Renato did and just have a camera facing you. So if you want to use facilitation visual tricks online, you can use PowerPoint like Christian showed, or you can, for example, do something like this on Padlet, where we had a session about advantages and challenges of working from home, and just to symbolize different categories of thoughts, we did a simple pictures, advantages, challenges, just to visualize and show people what we mean, and to make it a bit more interesting. But also a cool thing that you can do is like I guess now in a remote setup, many people know tools like Miro or Mural. You can actually make people interact on top of a hand-drawn picture. And this is exactly what we want you to do right now. I'm gonna share a link to this board. And when you are on the board, go to first, if you were looking back on this meetup that we just did, if you were to give it a score on a scale from 1 to 10, just take a pen, and you probably want to adjust the thickness a bit. Just put a dot somewhere on this scale. If you liked it, maybe it's a 10. If you didn't like it, maybe it's a 1, or maybe it's somewhere in the middle. And then just take one of those post-it notes and add anything you like in the category of what did you like about the meetup that we just did? What would you improve? Or maybe you have something else for us. Me, Stine, Christian, or Renato, on how to improve events like this. And you can either use one of those post-its, or you can take a new one in any color and just put it in a category that you wanna do it. So I'm gonna share the link right now in the chat, and this link will take you to the board.
Yeah, and you don't need an account to access this link.
Yeah, so just click on it, and yeah, first, if you would rate this event, just place a dot somewhere on the scale and let us know what you liked or what would you improve. Or maybe you have something else for us as well. And probably you can see how it looks like. I'll just share the screen for those of you who don't want to participate.
Can add another easy trick to use visual stuff in your online facilitation is to, if you make a drawing on a piece of paper and just hold up, for example, an agenda like this, and you can actually say even a poor drawing is probably has a lot more effect than a poor PowerPoint. So it shows a lot more engagement and dedication. So it's quite useful to use any kind of visualization.
I like that remark that when someone does a bad PowerPoint, it's like it figures it's a bad PowerPoint.
Yeah.
But when it's a bad drawing like the one that you're working on top of right now, it's actually hand drawn. People like to interact with hand drawn things. Cool thing about Miro, if you don't know this tool, you can hide collaborators' cursors at the top of the screen. You can just click it, and then you won't see the cursors moving around the board anymore. So yeah, I'll stop sharing. We'll give you 30 seconds to finish writing the feedback.
Yeah, otherwise I think we'll just say thanks for drawing with us, and we hope we inspired you to get started or to try out in new ways maybe. Yeah, as we mentioned, there are many simple ways to get started, and you don't need to be an artist to use this. Any additional comments?
So I guess
I think somebody accidentally moved the background of the Miro board.
yeah, there's a thing that you can do. You can lock the background. I guess someone was playing around because you can unlock it, but generally you can lock it so people don't move it by accident. Like,
so if you zoom out, you can then zoom back in the right bit.
I guess we're done. So we now have a few minutes if you have any questions.
Where can we learn more of those frames and things? How do we learn? Maybe more drawings?
Yeah, you got that Usmo keyword. Maybe we can get more tips like that.
I guess we can share some pictures in the meetup, maybe.
Yeah, that would help us. Thank you.
Yeah, we have I think we have some of these pre-made that you can use for inspiration. We can post there.
Sure, thank you.
In terms of pens and materials, is there anything that you guys recommend, or normal Sharpies would be the best? I know that some are waterproof, others are not. What kind of things you kind of recommend?
I'd say start with anything you have, and that's the best way to do it. The overall idea is that you should have a black marker and the one that is like a highlighter. You know, I don't know if I have some, but usually in the office you have those
green
highlighters, and so it works like you do some outline or contour, and then you fill it with an with a highlighter.
Mhm.
So that's the way to start. Like if you want to go a bit more fancy, you can just buy markers like Neuland or Montana. Anything of this kind will work.
Steal them from your kids.
Stein, do you have the feedback form? I see that some people have already are starting leaving, so I think it would be interesting to get that URL now.
Do you want to have an
yeah,
extra feedback, or you want to use the Miro, whatever it's called?
So we can share the feedback form, but also we can gather the feedback from Miro board.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it was really useful, very useful.
Yeah, thanks very much. I mean, I really appreciated it and learned a lot. Appreciate the effort kind of putting something like that together as well, both, I guess, just remotely, like how you engage in audiences as well. So I learned a lot there as well. Do you typically practice and keep like a little book of like your favorite drawings or tips or characters or shapes or anything like that, just like as your own little catalog?
I'm the lazy Scrum Master. I have like 5 things that I can draw, and I just keep on reusing them. I have no clue how to draw at all.
I get a a lot inspired on using Google and just search for easy icon, whatever, and then browse for what I like. So yeah, that's how I get inspired.
One thing I was wanting to ask is, so when I draw stuff like that myself on the team or the people I interact with, I found that because it looks a bit like a draft, it doesn't look polished as if it was typed normally. And so if you're trying to convey an idea, that's not quite, you want to discuss it, it's not your final idea, you're just thinking things through. I found that it helps people to to see that it's not my final thought, it's just an idea that I want to put out, as opposed to a document or a diagram in PowerPoint. I don't know, do you find this as well, or?
But yeah, that's right, because then if it's a PowerPoint or a picture, then it looks finalized, right? So this, where it has these hand-drawn edges and all that, it invites and to engage in it and to participate in whatever the topic would be. And probably sometimes when we draw and we think, it doesn't look good, it's all in our own head. And then good thing, as Christian mentioned, you can just write underneath it what it symbolizes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anything else?
We know it's also approaching dinner time in UK.
Thank you for your time today.
Thank you for attending.
Thank you.
Yes.
That was really useful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks
Thank
a lot.
you guys. It was great. Enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.